I saw a video last night by Rudy Rochman. You should check him out. I'll put a link. He's on Instagram. A young man, very articulate, Israeli. He's a Mizrahi Jew, served in the IDF for 10 years. He really is a voice of reason and genuine compromise. He is a supporter of the two-state solution. He was on a campus in Washington, D.C., I think it was George Washington University, surrounded by protesters, calling him the most vile names, accusing him of killing babies, chanting, we don't want two states, Palestine is all for us, and the IDF, the NDP, the KKK, it's all the same. Just horrible, horrible stuff. And he was just standing there, and he finally engaged in some dialogue with a Jew who was in the protest, and then a Palestinian later on. The reason I'm bringing it up is I'm sure you've seen all these protests, and they're very, very, very hateful. I don't understand why you can't both support a Jewish state and a Palestinian state, but it seems like those days are over. The two-state solution, according to these students, is dead. All of Palestine, they're chanting from the river to the sea. And it really dawned on me that these people are hypocrites, because they side with Hamas, people who are openly calling for a genocide and have demonstrated it on October 7th, that are killing babies intentionally and raping women and murdering civilians, modeling themselves after the FLN in Algeria, which in 1962, after 8 years of murdering the French, murdering their families and their babies, drove the French out of Algeria, and they left to the tune of almost 2 million on boats back to France. And when you're chanting from the river to the sea, that's a line right out of Hamas's charter. And their strategy is to just murder as many civilians and babies and rape as many women as possible, so that the Jews will pack up their bags, get on the ships, and go back to where they fucking came from. Really, that's the strategy. And it has failed, utterly failed. It produces catastrophe and disaster for both Israelis and for Palestinians. It's a dead end because the Jews are immune to it, because they have nowhere to go. The Jews of Israel left an oppressive world. They have nowhere to go back to. And the hypocrisy of these students is that they're in America, and what they really are doing is transposing their guilt and their hate of America onto Israel, because they're an easy target, as a symbol of colonialism, right? The irony, the 13 British colonies that became the United States, that displaced the indigenous people of the Americas, the people who are living here now, going to those universities, who are the beneficiaries of displacing the indigenous people of the Americas, coming as colonists and calling for decolonization, right, are guilty of that themselves, they feel. So they're transposing it onto Israel. Why don't you put your money where your fucking mouth is, get on a boat, and go back to where your fucking relatives came from, and show the Israelis that decolonization is possible without genocide. If you kill enough people, then eventually the other people will go, you know what, maybe they're right, let's leave. So why don't you fucking leave your colonized country of America that displaced the indigenous people here, and go back to where you came from?